Welcome to Upreach with Bob Starkey, where we're practicing practical evangelism, where the Bible meets blue jeans. Today it's my privilege to be talking to Kimberly Shannon. How are you today, Kimberly?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
You wrote a book called Daughter, You Are Enough. I thought I read that you actually wrote a song first and then the book came later.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do women's ministry things, and I wanted sort of self-help journal type books that women could work through some things that they're going through, some things that we have in common. And so when I wrote the song, I thought, this would be a great opportunity to create a book and a journal that would go along with it. And so it actually follows the lyrics of the song. So each week you have one line of the song, and then it talks about that lyric, that line, what it means, and then God's truth in it. And then there's a number of questions that you get to answer, and you go through. Or it's a 30-day journal to walk through the song and walk through the idea of what the song means and the healing that comes from it.
I really like the title of your book, Daughter, You Are Enough. I think that we all maybe struggle with self identity and self worth, self value. And I believe your title just speaks to everyone. What made you write a book with that title?
Well, I tend to write songs that are really personal. So the song itself was just a personal reflection on things I've gone through in my life. So the song Daughter, You Are Enough is really about the labels that get put on you by other people and by other people's hurt. So whether or not they want to bring you down to lift themselves up, that can be a hurtful thing, or people that have been in abusive relationships or have had hard childhoods, or people like myself that kind of always felt like they were outcasts or had a hard time making friends or was the person chosen last. And so it really talks about the women that have struggled then with self-identity and looking for their worth in people, for people to tell them they're enough, but their past has had people telling them that they're not, and that our worth is not based on other people's interpretation or other people's hurt. It's based on who God says we are. And so that's what the song is about. And then it reminds women that feel broken that God used very broken women in the Bible to still do really amazing things.
Yes. So, a couple of keywords kind of popped out at me, and not just your book title, the back cover regarding the information about your book. I was reading some of the book reviews, great book reviews for it. And there was a phrase that I came across that talked about reinventing. Maybe it was in one of the reviews. And I find that there's a lot of people, I'm 53, that are maybe in their 30s or 40s or my age and almost like beginning life anew, maybe because of a marriage or a divorce or a this or a that, a career change, and we're starting life from ground zero. And it's kind of interesting. Some days I wake up and I'm like, wow, I've traveled an interesting path. But when I was in my early 40s, I woke up one day and I was like, who am I? And what am I doing here? Can you relate
Yep.
to that?
It's extremely relatable. So I actually just turned 50, and I moved to Nashville right before I did that. So I have picked up and moved my life from the West Coast all the way to Nashville, which was brand new, a bunch of people that I don't know, and it actually did start a brand new career while I was over here. And the whole time I was saying, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, what do you even do at 50 years old that
Right.
you're starting over? And then when you're in a music town and you're still a musical person, you're a songwriter, who cares about this, old lady here in Nashville when there's all these young people pursuing music? And so I actually, this last Christmas, wrote a song called Audience of One, which I plan to release this year. And it really did talk about a lot of those things that we go through. Like, what do I even do at this point? Who's going to really care what I have to say? Because you always feel like you have to be a younger person to be taken seriously, and I don't know why we even do that to ourselves. But it was really talking about, God is the reason we do what we do. If He gives us a gift, if He gives us something on our heart that we need to do, all He's asking us to do is to honor that. It doesn't matter how many people see it. It doesn't matter how many people that hear it, but as long as we do it and honor God in the process.
Did you write an album? I want to say it was on your YouTube page and subscribe to it. I saw an album called Moving On, Letting Go. Is that you?
That is me. So that was actually under a previous name, Shannon Rains, and I recorded that. I want to say it got finished in 2003. Went on a brief tour, if you want to say, through churches, giving a concert about it. And it was the same time that the book Purpose Driven Life had come out, and that was a
Yeah.
really big thing that was going through the churches. And so it was about purpose, but it was also about moving on with some of the stuff that we just talked about, but just that you're not so focused on your own will and your own thing that you want to do, that you're so caught up in your followers and the number of people that you've got, but that you're just letting God take the wheel. And so that's what that album was. And then I got busy doing other things and finally just got back into recording music. But that's interesting that you found that.
I like your spirit. The fact that you're going to do what you're going to do. If God's something on your put something on your heart, you're going to do it, and you're not doing it for, like we said, monetary gain or numbers, but you're doing it why? For your personal self-worth.
Yeah, and I'm doing it because it's something that God put in my heart, and it's something that He's given me the gift to do. And I think that when you have something on your heart, that's a God knocking thing, and He's asking you to move forward with it and do something with it. This isn't about me. I can do plenty of music things about me, and I do other things that are just fun for me. But if there's something that I feel like, okay, God has this message, like daughter, you are enough. That was a message that yes was for me, but it's also for so many other people. So my responsibility then is to put it out there, and then it sticks with some people. And the fact that you said I even had reviews on Amazon, I had no idea. So that's actually interesting. I'm gonna have to go look at those now.
That's awesome. Your book, Daughter, You Are Enough, a 30-day journal to reclaim your worth. And it talked about rising again. Is this the tools that you used in your personal journey?
It really was. And it's funny how this came together too, because I had no idea going into it that the amount of lyrics, the lines that I had in the song, and repeating the line, Daughter, you are enough, would actually take you from beginning to end in 30 full days. I thought maybe I'd have to put some extra lines in there or put some extra something. And so what you just asked, it starts with Daughter, you are enough, and it asks some questions. And by the time you get to the end of it and you work through all of the truths within the song and all of the verses that went with those lines that I wrote, it takes you back to that same question, Daughter, you are enough. And it says, what have you learned that's different, and how much have you grown and changed in this 30 days to understand your worth? And so that is a process that I have gone through myself, and that's what got me to the song in the first place.
So this has been very exploring for yourself, you kind of finding yourself, who you are in the Lord. There was a phrase, the world tells us our worth. What do you think the world is telling women today?
There are so many expectations, so many ways in which you are supposed to act, to look, all the things that you're supposed to do, and the world always has an opinion, and it's not always the right opinion. I think it comes from so many different directions, and it's really hard to just be yourself and that be okay, especially if somebody else's opinion comes through that door, like it often does, and says, no, you don't fit the mold, you don't fit what you're supposed to be doing and what I tell you to do. And so you get stuck in the, well, okay, well, there's something wrong with me because I don't fit down this narrow path that society tells me I'm supposed to fit down. And that's where you tend to veer off, and you don't get to be 100% authentic to who you are because now you're trying to fit a mold because people are telling you, well, that's what you're supposed to do. So I can't go do the thing that I feel is right for me because somebody else told me that that's not correct.
Another word that kind of popped out at me was the word healing. I come from a rural farm community, small town, big families, and you don't talk about trauma or, hardships or problems. And maybe the term that I heard a lot was you just got to bury it. You just put it behind you and just bury it. Don't talk about it. Don't deal with it. And now I'm finding that people that are victorious in their spiritual life are people that are dealing with it.
Yeah, I actually, so like I had said really early on here, I was not the kid that was picked first. I had a hard time making friends growing up, and I don't exactly know why all that was, but I ended up getting ruthlessly picked on in middle school, like a lot of people do, and it really defines you. It continues to follow you into adulthood. And I used to have people tell me, you just need to let that go. You just need to get over it. I had a really good friend that would always say, just get over it. But your heart doesn't just get over it because you tell it to. It's a process that you have to work through to to know the difference between, other people's usually other people's hurt, other people's things that they're putting on you to make themselves feel better. That's almost always what it comes down to. And so you have to work through that because you take it with you because nobody else told you that what was going on wasn't a correct reflection of who you actually are. It was a reflection of that person, or they just use the wrong words, and you hold on to it, and then you take it into to adulthood, and then you'll have somebody else walk in and they'll confirm what that person said, in middle school, and then you're like, well, yeah, okay, well, an adult just told me this, so it must be true. And yeah, that's an interesting process to work through. But I think you can't just bury something because it's going to show up. It's going to show up the next time somebody comes in and says to you that same thing, or the same thing happens to you that happened before. And you have to know how to deal with it in the here and now to know what you wish you would have known back when it, started in the first place. But yeah, if you don't deal with something, it's going to pop its ugly head. It's going to happen.
You wrote a song that I really liked. Awesome book, Daughter, You Are Enough, song that goes with it. I came across another one of your songs on YouTube that I really liked. Um, Help me out. Is it called Never Alone or maybe Graduation Song?
Yeah, so I wrote that for my daughter when she graduated from high school. And it was crazy because, and you might understand this, like I put it on YouTube, never thinking anything would happen. And I was really surprised when literally years later, I went back to YouTube and saw that it had quite a few hits on it. And I had people asking me questions, and I was like, I haven't even touched this YouTube page for years. So, but yeah, I wrote that for my daughter. I was actually gonna get in and re-release it because it was just a little home recording that I did, mostly me playing. My husband's playing guitar on it, and I kind of wanted to throw it back out there. But yeah,
It sounds good. I really liked it. I thought it was
thank you.
inspirational. Well, Kimberly Shannon, how do you want people to follow you or get a hold of you? Through your webpage, through YouTube?
Sure.
What's your preference?
I have all the things. So go look for Kimberly Shannon. You can find me on Facebook. If you go to Breakthrough Daughters, that's with an S on the end. That's going to be my main page that I'm going to be doing a lot of things off of. And to really confuse the world, if you go to Kimberly Diamond Taylor, that is also me, and that is where I do some other blogging and some of my music as well. So. There's no explanation. I have no explanation for any of it.
I like it that you're doing it though. You're doing something. And you're doing a lot of different things. I think you're very inspiring. And I like the fact that you went through this personal journey yourself and you got victory. And now you're sharing the keys to success with others. And you're sharing your art and your ministry. I love it.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate that.
We close out the radio program every week with a simple phrase where we say, and may the Lord be with you until we meet again, whether here, there, or on the air. Thank you, Kimberly Shannon.
Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it.
Amen.